Hello there, in the basement this time. It's a nice Saturday morning. I don't like having the camera facing me like this, but I haven't figured out, I'll have to look it up, how to switch it mid-video, but I'm gonna do some Orioles hypothetical trades using the baseball trade values site. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with this one, which was definitely a little more hypothetical and would not happen. We've got, this one involves, as it says on the screen here, Mariners, Orioles, Marlins. We've got the Mariners receiving Sandy Alcantara, Ramon Urias, Kobe Mayo, and I just tossed in this prospect, Fabian Lopez. I'm just gonna go over it first and explain my thinking. Orioles get Logan Gilbert, Jesus Luzardo. Marlins get Cade Povich. Mariners comp pick, Enrique Bradfield, Felnine Celestin, Albert Suarez, Michael Forret. Starting from the Marlins perspective, the two they have right now, Luzardo and Alcantara, that they'd be losing here, I think that's only it, right? And then that prospect, yeah. So that they'd get that Lopez guy going to the Mariners. But as of now, they're not competitive. They won't be competitive. Luzardo has 2 years, Alcantara has 3. So if they can get all of this, trading those two, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. You get Povich, who has, I believe, 6 years of control, or maybe 5 now, because he may have used up his rookie year. You get a comp pick. Bradfield yet to make his debut, so that's what they want. Celestin, pretty young. I don't know why his age isn't up there, but that's a little weird. Maybe that's why this is thrown off. So he's the shortstop guy coming through with the Mariners, supposed to be really good. You get Suarez and Forret. Suarez has a lot of control despite his age, and he gets slotted into Alcantara's spot. The thinking there is between him and Povich, you have replacements for the guys you're losing, but they have a lot of control. As it says right there, they both have 5 years. Forret, Bradfield, Celestin would all be in the minors, I'd imagine, and that's what they want at this point. Going up, I think this is pretty straightforward for the Orioles. You get 3 years of Gilbert, 2 years of Luzardo. I don't have too much to say about that one. I think with the lack of effort so far to make a move, I'll get to what they're giving up in a second. Well, I guess that's maybe the next point to make. So going to the Marlins, you're giving up Povich, Bradfield, Suarez, Forret. It's a lot, but at the same time, you don't know what Povich will ever be. You don't know what Forret will ever be. Suarez is older. Bradfield would hurt, but you do have Honeycutt. You can always find a way to keep Mullins around. Outside of that, you upgrade your rotation. That's now your top 2, I'd imagine, or 2 of your top 3 with Eflin or Grayson, depending on who you want to put there. So then your rotation would be Gilbert, Luzardo, Eflin, Rodriguez, Kramer, with, I guess, Rogers and maybe McDermott. And then going up to the Mariners, in some ways they might come out the best on this, although that's maybe a debate. They'd have to pay a little bit more for Alcantara than Gilbert, but they'd also keep their rotation more or less intact. They'd still have Castillo, or be able to trade Castillo to free up money, which at that point, do you really need to trade him? Not really. You'd have Alcantara fill in for Gilbert. That's sort of a like for like, but a little bit of a downgrade. You cover Urias, who'd go to third or second, depending on how you want to do it. And then Mayo could go to either third or first, depending on how you want to do it. As it says, you have 2 years of Urias, which is enough. He's decent, not great. And then 6 years of Mayo, that's kind of the big bonus here. So you're basically giving up 3 years of Gilbert, but you get 3 years in return of Alcantara. And then you get Mayo and Urias, who, if you're not going to spend any money, that makes a lot of sense. Other than that, you're really giving up just Celestin, really, and I guess the comp pick. But that was kind of to balance things out. It doesn't even show up correctly on here because I had measured it out, and it says 74. I'm not sure where they're getting that. But anyway, the team I would say wouldn't do this, I don't know, actually. Again, that return is not actually bad considering it's 3 and 2 years of injury-prone guys who you're not competing in that time span. And then all these guys have at least 5 years of control. So I think that for the Marlins would be a big haul to get. I would probably say the Mariners wouldn't do it because I think they might want more for Gilbert. Celestine, I mean, that's not ideal to give up, but you also do have Arroyo, Young, Emerson, still have JP Crawford. And then you'd have, if you want Urias at second, Mayo at third, if you want to do it that way, or Mayo at third, or Mayo at first, Urias at third. And you could just figure out a cheaper option for second base, whether that's what you already have or someone else. This is all on baseball trade values, which this one actually isn't that bad. I think this is somewhat fair. I mean, some people might argue the Orioles would be giving up a lot here. That's a first base option, a third base option, or two third base options if you want to look at it that way. I don't know why they have Urias as a shortstop. That's never happened. The sight's a little off, but anyway. And then you'd give up Povich, 5 years of control. Oh, so it is 5, so he did burn a year. That's okay. So yeah, 5 years of Povich, 6+ years of Bradfield, depending on how you'd have him coming up, 5 of Suarez, and 6 when he makes it up for it. He was only 20, so that's a lot to give up. And I don't actually think they'd give all that up. But if you could get 3 years of Gilbert and 2 of Luzardo, there's seriously an argument for that. Next, another Orioles trade. This one involving the Diamondbacks. We've got, you see the values, 31.8 and 29.5. So actually, that's a little bit of an overpay according to the site. But anyway, let's get onto the trade. Going to the Diamondbacks, Dean Kramer, Ryan Mountcastle, Brandon Young. Going to the Orioles, Zach Gallen, Jordan Montgomery, Yu-Min Lin, Gino Groover, and Cash. Starting from the Orioles' perspective, if this camera would focus correctly, that would help. Dang, this is ugly. Whatever, that's okay. This is not an ideal scenario for me, I don't think, but it would solve the pitching issue, and you'd have a couple of prospects coming in. Gallen, that's your number 1. Montgomery, probably something like 4. So your rotation then would be, seeing as you'd be losing Kramer. Yeah, you're just losing Kramer. So it would be something like Gallen, Eflin, Rodriguez, Montgomery, and then one of, I guess, Povich, Suarez, Rogers, something like that. And that would only be for a year, though. So basically, I think Gallen would leave, Montgomery would leave, and Bradish would be back, and you'd be back in the same situation. The advantage, though, is you keep Povich, you only lose Kramer, he only has 3 years anyway. You do lose Mountcastle, but you still keep Urias, Mayo, give up Young, but again, he's in the minors, he's 25. So you do lose control of some guys for less control of some guys. But then with giving up Mountcastle, you get Groover in return. And then giving up Kramer and Young, you get Lynn in return, longer term. So I think that makes some sense. If you want, the cash I had on here was 5 just as the value, which again, that would be you have to consider real life money versus this little system, but you wouldn't pay all of Montgomery's contract, especially if you're giving up Kramer, Mountcastle, Young. And then with the Diamondbacks, I think the perspective is Young could either stick around in the minors for a little bit, join the rotation as sort of like a lower option, or join the bullpen. Kramer's around for 3 years, he's one of your starters, and then Mountcastle's your first baseman, and that allows Pavin Smith to either play first sometimes or also play right. That gives you more flexibility with the likes of Thomas and McCarthy if you want to trade them. Maybe McCarthy while his value is high, or Thomas if you don't trust them, or you just keep all of them and you just have more depth. You have a replacement for Christian Walker, and you get rid of Montgomery's contract, and Gallen was going to leave anyway, more than likely after next year with what's going on in the pitching market. So you do lose Groover, you do lose Lynn, but you get 3 years of Kramer, 2 years of Mountcastle, and then Brennan Young, what they can do with him, which I guess they hopefully trust in their pitching department. So again, those are just 2 I came up with. Give me your thoughts, feedback. Do you like them? Do you not? Thanks for watching.